Tonight, touting jobs. That was the main focus of the vice president's visit to Duluth. We have a full breakdown of his speech. And while some gathered in support of the vice president, others gathered in opposition. We'll tell you why. Plus, more COVID relief. Governor Walz announces financial help for Minnesotans who have lost their job due to the pandemic.
From CBS3 Duluth, this is the CBS3 News at 6.
Good evening, I'm Kristen Bakke. Thanks for joining us. Minnesota is the target for the Trump campaign in 2020. That's a big reason Vice President Mike Pence made a campaign stop in Duluth today, less than 70 days from Election Day. The VP is hoping to build on the momentum from 2016 that almost tipped the state red for the first time in nearly 50 years. Anthony Mack covered the vice president's visit today. And Tony, why the focus on Minnesota?
Kristen, it's a state that has been historically Democratic, but after 2016's narrow finish, it's now being classified as a battleground state, and one that the president believes, if he could win, would bode very well for his re-election bid. The vice president's visit today, very much a campaign pit stop, as he spent roughly an hour trying to convince voters to vote for President Trump in November. In a coveted battleground state.
It is great to be in the North Star State with all the hard-working men and women of Workers for Trump.
The vice president zeroed in on the president's America First agenda at the Kluwer Marine Terminal, praising the area.
President Donald Trump stood up to China's steel dumping, imposed tariffs, and opened up the Iron Range. And President Donald Trump will always stand for the way of life of the hard-working men and women of northern Minnesota and the Iron Range.
The stop peppered with jabs at Democrats as racial unrest grips the country.
There's no excuse for what happened to George Floyd in Minneapolis, and justice will be served. But there's also no excuse for the rioting and looting and violence that has followed.
The VP also touching on the ongoing pandemic that has left more than 185,000 Americans dead.
I don't have to tell you, in Minnesota, a great healthcare tradition in this state. Work of our doctors, our nurses, our healthcare workers throughout this pandemic has been nothing short of heroic.
Republican 8th District Congressman Pete Stauber helped introduce Vice President Pence, saying the Trump-Pence team is the best choice for blue-collar America.
This administration brought mining and manufacturing back to the shores of the United States.
4 more years. 4 more years. 4 more years.
And in a very nonpartisan moment, 2 Northeast Minnesota mayors who identified as lifelong Democrats pledged their support to the administration in 2020, along with 4 other Iron Range mayors.
Today, we don't recognize the Democratic Party. It has been moved so far to the left, it can no longer claim to be advocates of the working class.
In a very blue-collar part of the city, a promise from the vice president.
The road to victory begins in Duluth, Minnesota, and we're going to win this state.
Now, Minnesota is one of 12 battleground states this year, and one the president lost by just 1.5 points in 2016. That's part of the reason for the VP's stop today. The president fared very well in battleground states last election cycle. That's something that helped push him to victory. Wisconsin and Michigan are both considered battleground states as well.
All right, thanks, Tony. And we'll have reaction to the VP's visit from DFLers in just a minute. But first, let's head over to Dave for a look at the weather. Happy Friday, Dave.
Happy Friday to you as well, Kristen. Let's talk about the rain that came down from the first wave of our low pressure system as it passed through last night through this morning. Not that much for a lot of Minnesota towns, really only a trace in Hibbing, International Falls, but a ½ inch towards Aiken into Wisconsin and Michigan as expected. It was a little bit juicier there, going from 1/3 of an inch in Solon Springs to 1.5 inches in Hayward to 0.8 over towards Ironwood. Second wave of rain is still possible tonight till about 10 o'clock, so we could get a little more on top of these totals. Here's a look at the Midwest picture, and our low pressure system is departing, taking its showers and thunderstorms with it. So again, in another 4 or 5 hours, it should be gone, to be replaced by higher pressure from Canada coming in for the weekend. That means sunshine for the weekend. So here's a look at our forecast. Tonight, 30% chance for the rain to pop up again in your town. Low temp will be in the lower 50s. Come Saturday and Sunday, thanks to the Canadian high pressure cell, we'll get a clear to partly cloudy sky both days. But since it's coming in from Canada, it'll come with cooler air. And our high temps will run only about 70 to 72, which is just a hair cooler than normal. Could it get even cooler than that for the rest of the week ahead when September comes to say hello? I'll let you know in a few more minutes.
All right, thanks, Dave. Well, circling back to the vice president's visit to Duluth this afternoon, Minnesota DFL leaders spoke out against the campaign stop this morning. The call included DFL party chairman Ken Martin, Duluth Mayor Emily Larson, along with a local nurse and Duluth resident. They claimed the Trump administration failed in responding to the coronavirus pandemic and continues to hurt Americans. After wishing Pence a safe visit to town, Mayor Larson says this administration's leadership is taking its toll on local communities.
What I do know is that in a crisis, leadership either shines or it hides. Nobody in the United States has created this pandemic, but nobody is taking the responsibility on the national level that they need to. And that starts with the White House.
Larson also showed her support for Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden and vice presidential nominee Kamala Harris. Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden released a statement today on the vice president's visit to Duluth. Biden said in part that President Trump and Vice President Pence aren't able to make a case for their re-election, so they're trying to distract from what he called their failures to Minnesota and the nation. As Vice President Pence arrived in Duluth earlier today, residents took to the streets to voice their concerns. CBS3's Emma Quinn spoke to protesters to learn more about their stance on Pence's visit.
We protest everything about this administration, but the most dreadful thing is to see democracy systematically destroyed.
Worry filled the streets outside Duluth Civic Center Friday afternoon as community members opposed Vice President Mike Pence's visit to Duluth.
What he's done to dismantle our system of democracy in 4 years, I can't imagine another 4.
Of those concerns, supporting the United States Postal Service, as many people are expected to vote by mail this coming election.
There's been a lot of changes recently, so calling on our legislators and asking them to make change.
Demonstrators also called on local leaders to address police accountability after this week's events in Kenosha and Minneapolis.
In Duluth, too, we need to be wary that something like that could happen here.
Participants were of all ages and ethnicities, something organizers say was the goal of the event.
Well, and I think that's really, we want to show that our community is diverse and that we are one whole Duluth community.
That's democracy. This is democracy. This is democracy.
The groups say they plan to continue to let their voices be heard leading up to the election. The last time the vice president came to Duluth 2 years ago, it cost the city just over $31,000. That was spent on city staff time preparing and hosting the event in West Duluth in August of 2018. About $6,500 of that was overtime. Almost $27,000 was spent on police and fire-related costs. At this point, city leaders don't have a cost estimate for today's visit. They hope to have numbers by early next week. Help could be on the way for thousands of unemployed Minnesotans struggling to make ends meet during the pandemic. Today, Governor Tim Walz announced an extra $300 in new weekly unemployment benefits. The move will up some of the state's benefits to $300 a week through September. It will be backdated to when the extra $600 a week in federal assistance ended last month. Walz hopes this will be a sigh of relief for Minnesotans.
The idea was to make sure that people were made as financially whole as they could be so they could continue to pay their rent, do their bills, but also spend into the economy.
To qualify, you have to be unemployed due to COVID-19. It is expected the fund has enough money to pay the benefits through mid-September. Duluth police have arrested 2 men involved in gunshots being fired in downtown. The incident happened overnight Thursday in an alley off 2nd Avenue East. Police say an officer witnessed multiple gunshots coming from 2 vehicles. Another responding officer located 1 vehicle near West 3rd Street. Police arrested a 32-year-old man who ran from the scene. They also arrested a 30-year-old man after resisting officers. The Duluth Police Department Violent Crimes Unit is investigating this case. Two men suffered gunshot wounds in a separate incident Thursday night, this time in the city's Central Hillside neighborhood. Police say the shooting happened near North 4th Avenue and East 8th Street around 8:30. A 22-year-old suffered a gunshot wound to his arm and back. A 21-year-old was shot in the arm. Police have not arrested anyone in the case. A Superior boy is in critical condition tonight after a UTV crash in Barron County. One child died and two others were hurt in that crash. It happened east of Cumberland yesterday afternoon. Authorities say 4 kids were riding the UTV when the driver lost control, causing it to roll. A 13-year-old Cumberland girl died at the scene. The Superior boy was airlifted to a hospital in St. Paul. The other 2 kids had minor injuries and were released from the hospital. Authorities have not identified the victims. Still to come on Live Local CBS 3, find out how the Ball Club Local Indian Council is creating safe places for children to play.
Normal temp, 72 degrees today. At least briefly, we hit 77 in the Twin Ports. But that could be it for warmer than normal weather for at least a week. We'll talk about temperature trends and rain chances tonight coming up after our break.
Watch Jeopardy at 4:30, followed by CBS 3 Live at 5 on Live Local CBS 3.
At Super One Foods, we go to great measures to deliver you with top quality meat every day. Try our Smithfield pork spare ribs for only $1.99 a pound and get Black Angus boneless beef top round roast for just $2.99 a pound. Plus, we provide the best of the best in fresh produce. Get whole seedless watermelon for just $3.88 each and get Gala or Braeburn apples for just 99 cents a pound. Through all that we do, we've got you in mind. Super One Foods, serving you lower prices and better choices.
If you're driven by an adventurous heart, you're in luck. The Subaru Outback is all new for 2020. With standard symmetrical all-wheel drive plus up to 33 miles per gallon. An available 260 horsepower turbocharged engine, advanced technology, and an extra-large touchscreen. Welcome to the best Outback ever, the 2020 Subaru Outback. Go where love takes you.
Lease a 2020 Subaru Outback during the Subaru A Lot to Love event going on now.
Here at locally owned Adolphson Real Estate, we are ready to help you find the home of your dreams with no extra fees. Take a look at this gorgeous, centrally located home on 3.4 acres. Please call our Cloquet office for more details. Call us today to schedule a tour at Adolphson Real Estate.
Hey, it's me, your skin. Some cleansers get us clean, but take my moisture. CeraVe cleansers help me maintain my moisture balance with hyaluronic acid plus 3 essential ceramides to help restore my natural barrier. So we're CeraVe clean. CeraVe hydrating cleanser.
The show critics are praising as genius is now the Emmy winner for Outstanding Talk Show Host.
That's a standing ovation.
Yes. And the stars love it too.
You're so good.
America's Sweetheart is a hit and everything we love.
Oh my God!
This is why we connect. You say y'all, I say y'all.
That's how you say it.
You're wrong.
The Kelly Clarkson Show, weekdays at 3 on Live Local CBS 3.
Vaping has been declared a national epidemic among youth. 1 in 3 high schoolers vape in northeastern Minnesota.
My child started having seizures from vaping. There's still so many unknown chemicals.
One vape cartridge has as much nicotine as at least 2 packs of cigarettes.
My child was hospitalized with severe lung injuries.
They said it was no big deal.
My child said it was no risk.
That it was under control.
That's what my child said. But what could I have said? Get the facts and talk to your child today.
I like a new K-Times over.
Don't wait for the moment. You make the moment.
Time to go to work. I love seeing all your faces again.
Our future is now.
We're here to make it better.
Frankly, we've never needed it more.
Look who just got here. Look who ruined my first take.
Good enough for me.
Watch Dave, Caitlin, and Austin for local weather you can trust on CBS. Watch Jeopardy at 4:30, followed by CBS 3 Live at 5 on Live Local CBS 3. Now, the CBS 3 Duluth Weather Max forecast with meteorologist Dave Anderson.
So let's talk about temperatures. With the increasing cloud cover, with the rain coming through, they've had their ups and downs where the sun poked out a little bit warmer, it was cloudier, just a little bit cooler. So into the map we go to see how your town fared. And it was only 69 for high temp in Watersmeet and only 68 in Silver Bay, but it did make it to 77 over the hill near Hermantown, 77 also for Moose Lake, and 78 degrees down towards Siren. Warm temperatures like this, warmer than the normal is 72. They may not last much longer. No, September ends in just a little bit, and already cooler temperatures will be coming to call for the week ahead. Right now at the airport, they've called at 67 degrees there. 84% is the relative humidity, and you can see this picture, this live picture coming in from down by the bay. It's fairly cloudy because of that high humidity level. Winds going 8 miles per hour coming from the southeast. Air pressure is low at 29.69 inches of mercury, but it'll increase more towards 30 inches tomorrow as Canadian high pressure takes over to clear us up, but perhaps cool us down a little bit farther than what we had during the heights of temperatures today. Current temps run from 63 to 65 in the UP and 66 to 75 in northwestern Wisconsin. And in Minnesota, a lot of towns are as cool as 64 like Orr and as warm as 72 like Moose Lake and many of the rest of the locations in between. Low temperatures tonight likely will fall into the 50s. Tomorrow's high temps and Sundays as well will top out around 70 or so. So just dodging high temperatures that'll be in normal territory by a degree or two. Doppler map right now shows the back end of our low pressure system trying to drive a line of showers and storms, a fairly patchy and narrow line through the arrowhead of Minnesota. And there's a 30% chance that that will strengthen and thicken and go through Wisconsin and the UP till about 10 o'clock here tonight, especially in Minnesota, maybe a little bit later for Wisconsin and the UP. But after midnight, the higher pressure should start to push in, and that's going to bring back sunny conditions, as I've mentioned, for Saturday and for Sunday. Only for those 2 days, though, because our next rain chance is already slated to arrive on Monday with this low-pressure system burbling out of Alberta, Canada. In wintertime, we'd call it an Alberta Clipper. Right now, we'll just call it an Alberta rain system. 50-50 shot for showers and storms Monday and Tuesday. At this stage of the game, it doesn't look like they'll be severe. With temperatures on the cooler side, there just may not be enough lift to make things that vigorous, but it still could be cloudy and wet. Forecast here tonight in Minnesota could be cloudy and wet for a couple more hours, 30% rain chance. Your low temps will go from 55 inland to 61 by the lake. And for Wisconsin and Michigan, the range will go about 57 to 60, 30% rain chance there for a few more hours. Tomorrow, though, there's the payoff. Partly cloudy, 70 to 74 for the UP and northwestern Wisconsin. Folks in Minnesota get 60s by the lake, lower 70s inland, and with the extended forecast, warmest day of the week may be next Wednesday when we dare to strive towards 73 again. Otherwise, about 66 to 72 will be the best we can manage. And after a July that was 4 degrees warmer than normal, and in August that was 2 degrees warmer than normal.
All right.
For the start of September, we're going to come up about 2 to 4 degrees cooler than normal.
All right. Well, it's not too bad. At least I'm still seeing some 70s in there.
Yeah.
High 60s.
And it's above freezing.
Exactly.
But, you know, for those who really liked it hot, this was a great summer for them, and they're not really that keen on letting it go so soon.
That's true. It's difficult. Thanks, Dave. The White House Coronavirus Response Coordinator met with Fond du Lac tribal leaders today to learn about the tribe's efforts surrounding COVID-19. Tribal leaders told Dr. Deborah Birx the COVID-19 pandemic has brutally swept through Indian country, adding their reservation experienced several positive cases earlier this month. Dr. Birx assumed the coordinator role in March under Vice President Mike Pence. During Pence's visit today, Tribal Chairman Kevin Dupuis recognized the tribe's public health emergency preparedness team, who has been meeting daily since COVID-19 hit the U.S. Minnesota bars and restaurants will be under a tighter watch starting today. Governor Tim Walz announced health and safety teams will be doing more compliance checks in the coming weeks. The goal is to make sure facilities around the state are following COVID-19 guidelines. A letter addressed to hospitality industry representatives told businesses they can expect violations to lead to fines or losing their liquor license and workplace investigations. The results of each check-in will be available online. The governor has previously said his goal when it comes to COVID-19 compliance is primarily education. Kids in a small Northland town will soon have a new safe place to play. The ball club, local Indian Council, and other partners gathered today at Mickinac Park to build a new picnic pavilion. The town's youngest members are spearheading the effort to bring positivity to the community. Organizers say COVID initially slowed down the project, but they're hoping to have it finished soon. Coming up in sports, how Big Ten football could start up sooner than expected. Kelly has the details coming up.
America's Most Watched Network. Tonight, starting at 7, only on CBS3 Duluth. Then, stay tuned for CBS3 News at 10. CBS3 Live Cams are brought to you by Kohler Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac. The TED event is happening now, where you're not just getting a car, you're getting Kohler.
For months, we've all done our best to stay safe. But to remain safe in the long run, it's up to us all to take actions that don't just slow the spread of COVID, but collectively overcome it. Like getting a test if you have any symptoms, answering if your health department calls, and wearing a mask in public spaces. We all want to regain what we love in life. To get there, we all need to go forward and do our part.
Tune in Saturday mornings for the Link Ford lineup, where we will show you amazing vehicles on our lot, like this 2017 Ford Taurus SEL with a remote start, a backup camera, and more for just $314 a month. Or check out this 2014 Chevy Silverado 1500 LT for only $399 a month. Want to see more? Then be sure to watch this Saturday. Visit us online at linkmotors.com or stop by either one of our 2 locations to view our complete inventory. Link Ford, where reputation is everything.
So, you made it all the way up to the North Pole?
Yep, and the South. But I need good Medicare coverage so I can keep exploring.
Well, we have a range of Medicare Advantage plans, some including dental, vision, prescription, and travel benefits.
Can I find them online?
Yeah, absolutely. Or you can give us a call.
Sounds good.
Well, our stop is just up ahead.
So that was the shortest ride I think I've ever been on.
Yeah, quarantine legs. Gotta work those muscles back up.
Got a tough job to tackle? New Holland has a full line of tractors to make sure you're ready to meet any challenge. From compact tractors and attachments to tractors ready to work on the farm, New Holland has the products and know-how to make sure you get the job done right the first time. With over 100 years of experience providing tractors for the home, farm, and everything in between, we have the solution to meet your demands. New Holland.
Serves you better than Bullet Implement.
I am so ready for a relationship.
You can't just find a Johnny anywhere.
Dust me in the front seat, she's so sweet, my honey in the summer.
I'm coming to find the real thing.
This is my time to meet someone who loves Sully as much as Sully loves Sully.
Love Island, new tonight, 9/8 Central on CBS.
Fire threatens everything in its path. When it threatens our communities, we respond. We bring the fight to the front line. The Army National Guard stands ready because sometimes the front lines are in our own backyard. We will always be there when our community needs us the most. Find out more about serving your community part-time by visiting NationalGuard.com.
Watch Jeopardy at 4:30, followed by CBS3 Live at 5 on Live Local CBS3. Now, CBS3 Sports with Kelly Hinson.
The Big Ten announced earlier this month that they would not play football this fall, but now it's a change of pace. According to a report today, games in 2020 could possibly be happening. According to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, a January return to football plan could be earlied up, with games starting as early as the week of Thanksgiving. Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren has been criticized by both players and some parents for acting too quickly to cancel the fall season. In fact, a lawsuit was recently filed by 8 Nebraska football players to have the decision overturned. The earlier start is reportedly a push being made by some coaches as well. While the Big Ten reconsiders playing, the ACC, SEC, and Big 12 conferences plan to play football starting in September. Meanwhile, the NBA will return to play on Saturday after putting their season on hold, but for an entirely different reason. The games stopped Wednesday when the Milwaukee Bucks boycotted their game against the Orlando Magic to protest the police shooting of Jacob Blake. What followed was a unified voice across sports, from the NHL to the WNBA to Major League Baseball, and players and teams sat out of scheduled games. Today, the NBA and its Players Association also announced they have formed a social justice coalition to promote voting and use league arenas as voting sites come this November. The WNBA followed suit with the NBA, like I said, to opt out of their games this past week as well. That included the Minnesota Lynx, who have been very outspoken as a team for years about different social issues. Today, captains Sylvia Fowles and Ephesia Collier met with the media to share their thoughts on returning to play down in the bubble.
I wouldn't be sure if I want to go back to playing, only for the baseline reasons of it takes more than one day to reflect on what's going on, because things are happening rapidly every day, almost at a fast pace. So it's kind of hard to wrap your head around like things that's most important. Like he said, we never want to get besides the fact that we're here to play basketball. At the same time, we're two African-American women, and these things are happening close to home.
For me personally, I like the distraction of being able to play that game and get away. So it's hard because each person handles things differently. Still said what she feels personally. I'm happy to go back to playing because things are so heavy in your real life world. So it's nice for an hour to kind of get away and play the game that you love.
And the Lynx are back to playing tonight. They face Atlanta down in Bradenton, Florida. The Vikings moved their practice this morning to U.S. Bank Stadium, the first time the team's practiced there this year. With the season opener just over 2 weeks away, Coach Mike Zimmer wanted his players to go through the process of being at the stadium, going through the locker room, and onto the field. The usual preseason games this time of year are not happening, and it gets real when the Vikings host the Green Bay Packers in Week 1 at home on September 13th. Sans fans. It was recently announced that they wouldn't be at the team's first 2 home games due to COVID-19 concerns. And Major League Baseball released its latest coronavirus numbers today. Out of the 12,276 samples collected last week, 2 came back as new positives for COVID-19. Both those individuals were staff members from a single MLB club. None of the other 29 teams reported any new positive tests last week. And that's going to do it for sports for now. We'll have more here back tonight at 10. Kristen, I'll send it back to you for now.
All right, thanks, Kelly. Well, if you're into space and you like Star Wars, you are in for a treat from literally a galaxy far, far away. Actually, the image is a galaxy, one that bears a striking resemblance to Darth Vader's TIE fighter spaceship. Unlike Star Wars, though, the galaxy has a really long, boring name. It's called TXS 0128 plus 554. Astronomers mapped it using a globe-spanning network of radio antennas called the Very Long Baseline Array. Makes sense. The colors correspond to the intensity of the radio signals emitting from different parts of the galaxy. What's in a name, Dave?
Frankly, that image looked more like a George Harrison album to me from 1973.
Well, let's get a quick final
world. All right,
look
living
at
in the weather world, we see our forecast for the next 7 days includes mostly sunshine, except for tonight. We'll have clouds and rain till about 10 o'clock. Then the sunshine hits for Saturday, Sunday. Another round of rain, though, could be with us by Monday.
We'll see you at 10.